The myth of Osiris is one of the most enduring and psychologically rich narratives in ancient Egyptian mythology. It tells the story of Osiris, the noble king who is betrayed and dismembered by his jealous brother Set, only to be reassembled and resurrected by his wife Isis. This myth is not only a tale of divine betrayal and restoration, it is a profound symbolic map of the psyche's journey through fragmentation, transformation, and the rebirth of inner wholeness. Through the lens of Carl Jung's depth psychology, Osiris becomes more than a god. He becomes an archetype, one that reflects a core pattern of human psychological experience. In Jungian terms, Osiris represents the self, the totality of the psyche that includes both conscious and unconscious elements. His dismemberment at the hands of Set symbolizes the trauma and fragmentation we all undergo in the course of life. This dismemberment is not merely physical. It reflects the psychic wounds that result from betrayal, trauma, repression, and the inevitable suffering that comes from unconscious forces disrupting the ego's control. Set, the shadowy brother, is the archetype of the destructive unconscious, the shadow, as Jung described it. The shadow consists of all the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or repress. In the myth, Set's act of violence is not just external, it reflects the inner war within the psyche. Jung said, the shadow is a moral problem that challenges the whole ego personality, and unless it is confronted and integrated, it acts in destructive and autonomous ways. After Osiris is dismembered, his wife Isis, embodying the archetype of the great mother or anima, sets out to recover the scattered pieces of his body. She travels across Egypt, gathering each fragment with devotion and magical skill. This stage of the myth represents the process of psychological integration. When we are wounded or shattered by life, healing does not occur through denial or escape. It happens through the slow, sacred work of recollection and reintegration. Isis is the inner force of compassion, wisdom, and intuition that assists the ego in restoring the psyche's wholeness. Jung wrote, healing comes only from that which leads the patient beyond himself and beyond his entanglements with ego. Isis leads Osiris beyond the limits of his mortal existence. She does not restore him to life in the material world, but in the spiritual realm. Osiris becomes the lord of the underworld, not a return to old identity, but a new, transformed state of being. The resurrection of Osiris is not merely a return. It is an alchemical transformation. It parallels the process Jung described in individuation, where the ego undergoes symbolic death in order to align with the self. The death and dismemberment of Osiris reflect the dissolution stage, nigredo, in alchemical transformation, where the ego's illusions must be broken down. The reassembly by Isis reflects the albedo or purification stage, and Osiris's resurrection into a god of the dead mirrors rubedo, the integration and unification with the self. The birth of Horus, the son of Isis and Osiris, symbolizes the emergence of a new consciousness, a heroic ego that can carry forward the wisdom and legacy of the transformation. Horus battles Set not as a mere act of vengeance, but as a necessary confrontation between the integrated personality and the destructive forces of the unconscious. In Jungian terms, Horus represents the ego in service of the self, a conscious personality that has internalized the journey of suffering, descent, and healing, and now stands as a mediator between the inner and outer worlds. This myth remains deeply relevant today. In times of personal loss, betrayal, or existential crisis, we may feel as though we are in pieces, like Osiris, cut off from our inner center. The culture may encourage us to numb or escape, but the myth teaches us to turn inward, to listen to the Isis within us who seeks to restore what was broken. It also reminds us that healing is not a return to the past, but a movement into a deeper identity. Jung understood myths like these not as relics of ancient thought, but as expressions of the archetypes that structure our inner world. He wrote, the mythologism of dismemberment and reassembly represents the integration of unconscious contents and the overcoming of psychic disunity. The myth of Osiris teaches that even in the darkest times, a deeper order is possible if we are willing to face the shadow, descend into the unconscious, and trust in the mysterious work of inner transformation. In the end, Osiris does not rule the world of the living, but he becomes a divine judge and guardian of the underworld. His role is transformed, not erased. This, too, is the message of individuation. We do not erase the past, we integrate it. We do not avoid our wounds, we make them meaningful. The soul does not seek perfection, it seeks wholeness. As Jung said, "I would rather be whole than good." The myth of Osiris is not just an Egyptian tale, it is a map of the soul's deepest journey. And in following it, we may come to discover that within our own darkness lies the seed of light, and within our own fragmentation lies the hidden path to unity.